All right, you guys. So I want to give my greetings. Hello to everybody out here on this beautiful late night. So this is called the late night tip. Um, so yeah, I'm doing my program at this kind of night, so it might be different at your time zone, whatever. Anyhow, I'm very I'm compelling to do this topic. Okay. And this topic is dealing with a subject called a battle of the souls of black girls. A battle of the souls of black girls. Now the reason why I want to do this because there was something in the article that really stood out to me. And that part was the whole strip searching and the handcuffs of kids that's under the age of 10. What I have taken note is that there has been a lot of discriminatory practices when it comes to African American girls in public school system. So girls are being viewed as being loudmouthed, having bad attitude problems, etc., or just being very problematic. And it's true in some cases, but not in all cases. Now, should we ask ourselves, is the school system taking things a little too far on how they going about dealing with the students, especially those who are black? Well, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and read the article to you, and then I'm going to engage into this conversation or into the subject matter, and I'm going to give my thoughts and my opinion on it. So, all right, here we go. So right here, this article comes from New York Times. It's called A Battle for the Souls of Black Girls. Discipline disparities between black and white boys have driven reform efforts for years, but black girls are arguably the most at-risk student group in the United States. Now, some may agree, some may disagree, and that's okay. But let's see why the article makes that argument. Now, this article came out on the 1st of October 2020. And it says that Big Hamilton, New York. Zuleika McKinstry, once silly, sociable daughter, has stopped seeing friends, talking to siblings, and trusting anyone. Changes Miss McKinstry's dates to the day in January of 2019 when her daughter's school principal decided that hyper and giddy were suspicious behaviors in a 12-year-old girl. Okay, hyper and giddy is suspicious behavior in a 12-year-old girl. Let me find that out. Let me. It says Miss McKinstry's daughter was sent to the nurse office and forced. I'm gonna highlight that word right there. Forced. Shit. Okay. She was forced to undress so that she could be searched for contraband that did not exist. I'm gonna read that part again. Miss McKinstry's daughter was sent to the nurse office and forced to undress so that she could be searched for contraband that did not exist. It's not fair that now I have to say it's okay to be black and hyper and giddy. That's not a crime to smile, Miss McKinstry said, and she doesn't believe me. The Big Hamilton case is now the subject of what might be a groundbreaking federal lawsuit by the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund, which has drawn on the desperate treatment and discipline rates of Black girls to pursue it. Peace. So wait a minute. Her daughter had to be forced to go to the nurse's office and take off her clothes because she was very hyper and she was giggling and all of that. So what they were suspecting, that this girl was on drugs? Did they even get the consent from the parents to do so? Now that went too far. That was way too far. But nah, let's continue, because I'm trying to get somewhere with this article. It says the disproportionate discipline rates of Black boys have long dominated discussion about the harmful effects of punitive discipline policies, but recent high-profile cases have begun to reframe the debate around the plight of Black girls. In Florida, Kia Rowley was only 6 last year when police officers escorted her hand-bound behind her with zip ties from her school in Orlando after employees there said she had a temper tantrum. In Sacramento, the first virtual suspension to draw national attention was meted out to a 9-year-old Black girl who was kicked out of her Zoom classroom for reportedly sending too many messages. In Michigan, a teenager was sent to juvenile detention for not completing her online schoolwork. What? Just this week, the Common Application for colleges and universities cited disproportionate discipline rates for Black girls in its decision to stop asking students to report whether they had been subject to disciplinary action. Okay, let me stop all that. So a 6-year-old child get put in zip tied because she threw a temper tantrum. Then another young lady get kicked out of this virtual classroom because she was sending too many messages. Then another young teenager, right, was sent to juvenile detention because she did not complete her homework assignment. Why would you send a kid to juvenile detention for not completing their online homework? Why? And then let's go down a little bit. Statistically, Black boys have led the country in suspension, as explosions, and school arrests, and the disparities between them and white boys have been a catalyst for national movements for change. But Black girls' discipline rates are not far behind those of Black boys in several categories, such as suspensions and law enforcement referrals. The disparities between Black and white girls eclipse those between Black and white boys. Of course, this is nothing new. This is what I call discrimination. In the educational system. Because we're already viewed as being problematic, inferior. And don't you think that because things done change, that there aren't people that keeps those ideology? The concept is still there. So black girls receive more discipline than white girls, and black boys receive more discipline than white boys. This all goes back to racism. That's the earliest form of racism, especially for a child, because right there they experienced it. They would experience it in grade school. They start to see how they're being treated compared to their counterparts. So to parents that want to say, oh, well, you can't see colors, you gotta see beyond colors. You can't see racism, you can't say racism, you gotta go beyond racism. You're afraid to tell your child the truth about what they're going to encounter or what they're going to deal with in life. You're very afraid of that because you're scared for them. And you want to give them the illusion that, hey, you cannot see people based on their colors, or you cannot just focus on colors. But guess what? When they go through the process of going to school or even going to work, they're going to start to notice those patterns. So this is your best bet to tell them the truth as of right now, how they're going to be treated and what they're going to experience and how they have to go about dealing with those experiences. But let me read something else real fast. I ain't gonna be on this too long. Okay. All right. So it says a New York Times analysis of the most recent discipline data from the education department found that black girls are over 5 times more likely than white girls to be suspended at least once from school, 7 times more likely to receive multiple out of school suspensions than white girls, and 3 times more likely to receive referrals to law enforcement. Black boys experience lower rates of the same punishment compared with white boys. It says in New York City, black girls in elementary and middle school were about 11 times more likely to be suspended than their white peers in 2017, according to a report from the Education Trust New York, a research and advocacy group. In Iowa, black girls were 9 times more likely to be arrested at school than white girls, according to a state-by-state analysis conducted by the American Civil Liberties Union. We are in a battle for the souls of black girls, said Monique W. Morris, the executive director of Grant Makers for Girls of Colors and author of the book, Push Out the Criminalization of Black Girls in School. And then goes on to say, the disproportionate discipline rate among girls indicate what researchers have long said about all black children. It's not that they misbehave more than their peers, but their behaviors may be judged more harshly. Federal civil rights investigation has found generally that black students are punished more harshly than their white peers for the same behavior. Black students are punished more harshly than their white peers for the same behavior. Black girls in particular are more likely to be punished for subjective infraction like dress code violation and insubordination. All right. So for those of us who don't know what insubordination is, that means like talking back or not complying with the teacher or somebody that's a authority figure. That's what insubordination means. It means that you get verbal warnings, you get write-ups for that and stuff like that. All right. So As you can see here in this article, what they're saying is you have white students, right, that can do the same amount or do the same thing and have the same behavior pattern, right, as a black student, but do not receive harsh punishment. Pretty much it's lenient for them, okay? But if it's come to a black student, it's 2 times worse or 3 times worse. So in other words, with the white kids, they get away with doing fuckery, if you will, or misbehaving than black kids. Now, I'm not saying that no child should ever receive any type of disciplinary action or punishment, but it has to be fair. And in this case, with the school system, especially the public school system, they're not very fair, especially when it comes to the black kids. They're not fair when it comes to disciplinary action or education curriculum. Because if you know it's at school that is predominantly African American, they don't receive the same amount of quality of education like the white Americans, or schools that's predominantly white. I'm gonna give you an example. So one day my supervisor, or one of my supervisors, and I had a conversation, right? Okay, she was telling me how she went to a prestigious school, that was in a suburb that was predominantly white, right? And she learned all type of scientific stuff. She was in the advanced classes. No. Was she in? Yeah, she was in advanced classes and whatnot. Yeah, I think she was in advanced classes. Yep. And she also did a lot of science projects. They went on a lot of field trips. They were able to like take an animal home and things of that nature and all kind of stuff. Right? So they were pretty advanced. But when she went to the public school, it was a setback. When she went to the public school in the black community, they didn't have those kind of advances. They didn't have those kind of classes that she was taking. They didn't go on field trip very often. So it's discrimination all over. You know what I'm saying? It's not just with disciplinary action, but it's also with curriculums and what they're learning in school. So with the public school, a lot of these kids, predominantly black, they're pretty much behind than their white counterpart in the suburbs. Think about it. And if nobody stands up for our black kids, they will be conditioned to accept the treatments as normal. Facts. Facts. You're absolutely correct. That's facts. But let me look at something else real quick on this article. And it says Aaliyah Logan, a recent New York high school graduate, said she routinely saw her black female friends punished for dress code violation that did not affect her white classmates. There would be white girls who wore the same exact outfits or even worse than us, she said. They would wear sheer tops and stuff like that, and I would never see anyone call them out. But if a black student wore a tank top, then that was a problem. You know what? And then let me go ahead and read down here. It says black girls are viewed by educators as more suspicious, mature, provocative, and aggressive than their white peers, said Rebecca Appelstein, the executive director of the Georgetown Law Center on Poverty and Inequality and an author of the first robust study of adultification bias against black girls. The study found that black girls as young as 5 were viewed by adults as less innocent than white girls. Less innocent than white girls. That's the earliest form of racism right there in your face. You can't tell me your child ain't going never experienced that. You can't tell me your child don't notice that. Just because you're not there doesn't mean that you know everything that's going on. Or you know what? The school system failed to understand people's upbringing as well. Okay? Which explains the behavior patterns of many young people. Nobody knows that somebody could have grew up in an abusive household, or they were always left by themselves to take care of themselves and their siblings, or nobody knows that this kid might be homeless. You see what I'm saying? So it's a lot of things that could trigger an individual behavior or people's behavior. All right. So you got to understand how the system that we're living in, the society that we live in, has a effect, a domino effect on black people than anybody else. Okay. So everybody who are considered as minorities deal with some form of racism, but it's on different levels. Okay. But for us, it is more harsh. It is more painful. It is more antagonizing than anyone else. It's more demoralizing. We're being looked at as if we have no values as human. As human life don't matter to this society when it comes to us. I mean, look at all the police killings. Look at all the mass incarceration. Look at the wealth gap. Housing. Business loans. The list goes on and on and on and on. Neighborhoods condition. It goes on and on and on and on. So because we have the experience and how we being viewed and how we have been demoralized, it affects our behavior about how we feel about ourselves, the people around us, and the environment, and even the land that we live on that's supposed to be free. But you know what? Let me see. What else can I find? Because I'm going to have to skip some information on this article. Now check this out. It says, for Kyla Rowley in Florida, bedwetting and nightmares were the first signs of trauma, followed by separation, anxiety, and crippling fear of the police. Her grandmother, Merlin Kirkland, said, "You can't even raise your voice at Kayla to discipline her," Miss Kirkland said. "If you reach for her, she'll frail around or run around screaming that somebody's trying to hurt her." Kaya, now 7, has made progress. She sees the injustice. She said, "Grandma, if I was white, they would have not arrested me," Miss Kirtland recalled. This is sad. For a 7-year-old child to say, if I was white, they would never arrest me. You can't tell me kids don't understand racism. Y'all forgot about that dog test. Right? You forgot about that. Kids understand, they see racism. They may not be able to articulate it, but they see it and they notice it. So you cannot hide it from them. You cannot lie to them. They know what they seeing and they know what they witnessing. They know for a fact. This is why, and I'm going to stop right there. So if you want to look up the article, here, look it up yourself. All right, it's on New York Times, A Battle for the Soul of Black Girls. Okay. But this is why there are so many people that would rather be African-centered or center around education focusing on African Americans, because they'll be able to learn how to connect with themselves and feel comfortable in their own skin of who they are and be appreciative of what they are. This is why you got some parents say, "I'd rather homeschool my children because I don't want my kids to have to go through that shit in a public school." So some parents feel that it's beneficial to homeschool their children. And some parents are scared to even send their kids to school because they don't know what the hell their kids going to deal with. That child might come back home and tell mama a story about some kid bullying on them or some teacher bullying on them. And then before you know it, mama got to get crazy, act a damn fool, going butt wild, cussing out the principal, cussing out the teacher, the faculty member, whoever, because of what that child is experiencing. These things are the earliest form of trauma. Especially for a kid to deal with the police to where they feel like they are a criminal. Yeah, that's the earliest form of trauma. You gotta see shit for what it is. You know, people can paint a picture all they want to. People can try to disguise it, but you gotta call it out for what it is, and you gotta see the reality of this shit. Yeah, it's a social construct. Race is a social construct, but guess what? It has been brought into existence and it has been accepted as the reality. And the reason why, because you're dealing with people who are privileged based on the color of their skin. Period. Everything in this world is not peaches and cream. You know, life is a game of chess. And you better make sure you play it. Life is like playing the game of cards. If you don't play your cards right, you'll end up losing. If you don't play chess, and you don't stay focused, you'll end up becoming distracted. And guess what? Your opponent has an opportunity to take over. So the public school system can be more detrimental. Well, let me take that back. The public school system is more detrimental than any other school system. So if the child would have went to a charter school or went to a private school, they more than likely would not have to deal with all the police enforcement and racism. But because it's in the public school setting, it's more than likely to happen. It's more than likely to happen. But anyways, I thank you guys for watching this video. For those of you that are watching. And if you want to go ahead and share this video, you can. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Also, take it easy on yourself. Please be careful. May peace and power elevation be to all of you. And I will reconnect with you all later on some Black history tips. Okay? On some Black history information. So just be on the lookout for that. All right? All right, then. Thank you all for watching. I got to go ahead and get some rest now. So, yeah, I'm getting kind of sleepy. But take it easy. All right? Peace.